There's Jason. Looks like we have everybody now.
Hey there.
Great. Hi, Jason.
Howdy.
All
Okay.
right. Yeah, I don't, might be muted.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Okay.
Hey there, can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Sorry, the joys of double mute.
Yeah. No worries. All right. So today, a couple things. One, we just wanted to kind of kick discussions off and make sure that we stay on top of this over the next several months as 2022 budget season is coming very soon. The first thing we wanted to touch on, Brittany and Jerry have some concrete and tile repairs that they wanted to discuss. And I think really what we're looking for here, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, but just kind of a discussion, figure out how this committee would like to move forward, and then we would potentially need to take that to the boards for a recommendation there. So I think Jerry and Brittany, over to you to start those conversations.
Okay. Yeah. So, as far as the pool goes, once we got the cover off this last week, we discovered that there was some plaster failures. So that has to be repaired. We're getting bids for it now, but we only have $5,000 allotted for pool repairs. And once the plaster gets repaired, then we have to fix the tile work over that, so people aren't getting cut up as they're swimming and walking on it. So we wanted to bring that to your attention because the tile work alone, we've got a bid on it, and that's $5,000. So we cannot open the pool until we get both of those repairs completed. So we just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. And then the other item for the pool is there's concrete repairs that are needed. And we've got a bid on that, and that is $24,000. So as you can see, we are well beyond what was approved in the budget for the pool. And then we've got other items that Brittany sent you on District O&M. So, you can review those. The one item is the DUI. The guy hit a bunch of our streetscape, knocked over trees, damaged the turf, the irrigation system. We've got that repair quoted at $4,000. They did not have insurance, so we will have to wait and see how it goes through court to see if we're going to get any financial benefit from that case. But then there's things like the detention pond. The town is requiring a vault screen that either was never installed or walked off one way or the other. They are requiring us to fabricate one and have that put back on. That was nowhere in the budget. There was a main line break that ended up costing $8,500 along Highlands Boulevard. We believe, or at least we've been told, that was from an Oakwood contractor. That expense was $8,500. That has been repaired, but they are looking for the district to pay that and then seek reimbursements if we can identify who is responsible. The park slide that cracked in the middle of the winter, so we have removed it as a safety hazard and ordered one. Once we get that installed, we will be through all of our park repair budget. So a lot of items on that list that Brittany sent out that you can take a look at. We tried to kind of compare it to what we've got in budget versus what these expenses are coming in at. And then at the end, we did put a 2022 consideration, and that is for the added streetscape and the Filing 11 park. We do have proposals on what those costs would be. So that we need to keep in the back of our mind as we do budget or go through the budget session for 2022, because those costs will increase significantly.
Hey, Jerry, or Brittany, for any of these items, particularly maybe the DUI incident, is any of this eligible for insurance reimbursement through the district's coverage? No. And then a second,
So the coverage for the streetscape off of Erie Parkway started January 1st, and that accident happened on Christmas Day, 2020.
okay,
So it's not covered.
okay.
In terms of the pool, is there any opportunity to go after the builder, or are we so out of for craftsmanship defects, or are we so out of warranty that that's not a worthwhile endeavor?
If I am correct, I believe the facility is out of warranty.
Yeah, I believe that's correct as
And I
well.
believe we had a 1-year warranty on the facilities. That was over beginning of 2018. I'm pretty sure.
Even on the concrete and the plaster, that seems very short.
Don't know the answer for that.
Yeah, we'll have to check on that.
That's a lot of items that you just mentioned there. I don't know, how do you want to go through all this? What do you propose?
I mean, the big items that we really need to discuss right now, Brandon, is the pool and what we're gonna do so that we can open it. The plaster repairs are a pretty big deal right now because water is getting on the outside of the shell, so in between the ground and the shell, and that is a problem. So we have to fix the plaster. And so we had about 4 different companies. We got the pool cover off the pool the other day, and now we've had 4 companies out here to bid that project for us. We don't know what it's going to cost at the moment to fix the plaster. But as soon as we have those prices, I can put them together in a little spreadsheet and send them over to you guys.
Any idea of what you think it would cost?
I really don't. Like one small plaster patch in another pool at Fairway Villas is $600. So it could be like we have 3 pretty big cracks that need to be filled with plaster, and then we have a whole, I don't know, 5 feet of plaster that has broken away in the kids' play area, in the wading pool area. So that is a pretty big patch job.
Yeah, when do you propose the bids are coming in?
We'll have bids by the end of this week and the middle of next week is what they've told us.
Okay.
So by the end of next week, we should have all the bids in.
Assuming we give you the go ahead on this and the board's approved this, can they get this done in time to open the pool on schedule?
I would hope so. I know because this spring we have had so much snow, almost every pool company is behind in their schedules. So anything they had scheduled keeps getting moved. So, I mean, I would love to say yes to that, Sam, but it's going to be based off of the company, the bid that we go with, and then the company's schedule of when they can get out there.
I just think from a PR point of view, we ought to alert through an email or something to the residents that this is happening and there may be a delay, just so we don't get up to, no-go point and then have to deal with the hue and cry of the residents.
Right.
When is the date? The opening date?
It is, pull up my calendar. May 28th is a Friday.
So I think
5 weeks.
what I'd recommend is that we wait until we get these bids in, take a look at what the costs are and the timing of it, and once we know that, then I think we can get the communication out that Sam's referring to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that'll be the next question.
I'm all for communicating with the community and letting them know what's going on. I want to make sure that we have all the answers when all the questions start coming in.
Exactly. Do we know what
absolutely.
the?
I just don't want to.
Oh, sorry, Sam. Do we know what the root cause of the cracks were? Like why so many have happened?
I know. Well, I can't say I know. My theory on the 3 cracks in the wall of the pool. Do you remember 2 years ago, we had to close down the slide because the pipe
The pipe running
that
to the
brought
side.
water to the slide first, right?
Yes.
And that was coming up through the concrete. I'm pretty sure that water got down along the pool shell. So those 3 cracks, I
Have a strong
think
suspension.
came from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember that pipe was never installed correctly, if I remember correct, and that's what we had the issue with the breakage on it.
I don't.
Yeah, that or it shifted after construction.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of shifting because the concrete deck has shifted a lot.
Yeah.
So we can't say exactly what happened to that pipe, but it definitely broke and caused damage.
Okay. So just a defect from that piece, but we're so far out of warranty, there's nothing we could do for that, unfortunately.
I believe so.
Okay. And then there's another one over by the waiting area, and that one's probably just wear and tear and over the time.
And Jason, you're right across the street. I mean, if you want to come look at it, I can show
Okay.
it to you. But
Yeah, I'll probably head over after this, Brittany.
that is about 5 feet long, and you can see the shell of the pool.
Ooh.
So as water gets in there, it's just going right under the shell of the waiting pool.
Yep. And I grew up with a pool as a kid, and yeah, anything that gets into that shell just will be long-term detrimental expenses.
Yep. And then the tile work that leads into the waiting pool is beautiful, but a bunch of them have cracked. So then they've shifted and then come out. So some tiles are completely missing, some are cracked. It needs to be regrouted, and we either need to redo the whole tile area, which is not necessary at this time. So that can be a project that we phase. But what does need to be done is tile replacements and regrouting, because of all those little kiddos who are going to cut their feet up on those.
Yep. So it, like you said, it does look amazing. But if it's going to be a year-over-year expense, is there a maybe a larger expense now, but a longer term to save if we were to actually remove that tiling and go with just pure concrete there?
Yes, so we did get a quote for that to remove all of it, regrout it, and put on larger tiles, like 12 by 12 tiles instead of these 2 by 2 that are there at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that is $8,500.
Okay. And versus what was the price again for just fixing it as for now?
Approximately $5,000. It was like $4,920 or something like that.
All right. And knowing that, so it'd be $490, and knowing that probably in 2 or 3 years we have to keep redoing it over and over, I'm guessing, with the grouting and maintaining those smaller tiles. I wonder if that's one that we should bring to the board to see, hey, do we spend more up front now to lower our cost of burden over time? Or do we just take the lower cost now, knowing that it'll be higher to maintain as time goes on?
Correct. And also, just to keep this in mind, is that area specifically gets power washed 2 to 3 times a week, because it is where all the little kids are. It's where parents are spraying sunscreen on their kids. It gets really slippery. It gets super black from all dirty little feet. So we clean that area a lot. So it's high use, and we're power washing it. So, you know, it's definitely a project that needs to be done eventually, if not, you know, sooner than later.
So about $3,500 more to have a long-term fix. Yeah, I mean, Brian, I don't know your ideas on it, but I personally think it'd be best to have a long-term plan for it, knowing that, hey, if it's $4,500 and then 2 more years, we guys spend $4,500 again. Yeah. But I know we're also hard drive for money as well, which makes it even more fun to try and figure out what's the proper way to go.
Well, right. And that's what Jerry and I have been looking at. And we've been going over the budget, trying to figure out how we can even financially make this work.
Yep, I fully understand.
Well, and I think that's a good segue to, we need to start bringing in the board members so that when the budget gets proposed, there isn't the sticker shock that we experienced last year when, you know, heads exploded when they saw what the numbers were. I think we need to, you know, lay out our thoughts and why we need to do this. And then maybe that will minimize that when the budget gets dropped for next year. You know, we need to put in these, you know, realistic numbers for pool repair and concrete repair and trees and all of the other things that are needed in this community. So, those heads won't explode.
These are
what we
unforeseen
sent, what we sent you,
2021 expenses. Is that right?
sorry, what was that, Brandon?
I'm sorry. I didn't
Are these unforeseen 2021 expenses?
No, they're not unforeseen. We brought them up in the budget meetings last year, and
No,
we're told to cut them.
Yeah,
No, Jerry. I'm referring to the concrete work, the tile work, the plaster work, the DUI,
Yeah.
the repairs and irrigation line. Those sound like they're unforeseen. They weren't like budgeted line items.
Well,
You're
Brandon,
talking about two different things.
sorry, buddy. I just want to jump in here. So I think what happened last year and what we did was originally Brittany and Jerry had on each group basically contingency options on those, and I think those contingency options kind of got pulled. So while they may not have been directly named, like we knew we needed concrete work, but I think that concrete work got slated out for 2 or 3 years versus now the repairs that we had line items for that we crossed out on the original budget, those got. Hang on, let me see if I can pull that up again from my Excel document. There were quite a few pull and operation budgets that got completely taken out and rolled up from the original proposed budget before we had our first powwow meeting to what actually got approved. Correct, Jerry and Brittany?
So
Yeah,
more specific, Brandon, is the concrete we've known about for a couple of years. We've been trying to get that in the budget for years, and it just keeps getting cut. The DUI, that happened in late December, so obviously that was after budget season. The irrigation mainline break was after budget season, so those were unforeseen items. All the landscaping, the tree replacements, the refresh of the park, that was all included in one fashion or another in the budgets last year that got cut. Because as you can see in the budgets, our plant material replacement approved budget is $0. Our other repairs and replacements budget is $0. So those are, specific items that we would identify going through the process that here's a need. Now it's not an emergency, but it is definitely a need. And those were the items that just got completely chopped out of the budget.
But there are always going to be unforeseen expenses. I mean, I guarantee you next year we're going to be having this same conversation about expense X, Y, and Z that we didn't foresee. So
Yep.
That's why you have contingencies, and that's why you have, these repair budgets for those unforeseen expenses. And I think cutting them to $0 is somewhat foolhardy, because then you end up exactly where we are now.
well, and I think so that's kind of where we are, right? And we wanted to come to the finance committee and talk to you guys and see about certain line items where we could possibly pull money from one area, or, there's not very many options here to find money to fix these issues.
Yeah.
I mean, the one item that sticks out to me that is definitely not necessary, where the pool would be unnecessary, is the holiday lighting. We have marked at 1,200 or
Right.
12,000.
12,000.
Granted, people may not be happy about having the Christmas lights, especially since it's a big deal every year competing with Collar's Hill. But I've personally, with someone that lives here, I feel like having a safe pool would be a much better use of that money to kind of use that.
I agree.
But what would need to happen to kind of do that, since the budget was approved to have 12,000 holiday lighting? Do we need any ratification on that, or what needs to happen or who needs to agree on that piece? I'm just one person speaking here.
Well, I think that if we were to send a survey to the community that says, do you want holiday lights, or would you like the pool to be open this season? I think they'll say they want the pool to be open this season. But I don't know how it works. Maybe Shelby or Brandon or Jerry, one of you know how to talk about the budget.
I think it's just a conversation that would need to be had at the time that some of these costs are taken to the board for approval. It wouldn't necessarily require a formal amendment or revision to the budget, but just part of the ongoing conversation of expenses.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that would be my only. So that's 1,200. That would cover the tile pretty much. So the $8,500 on the tile if we did the full year fix. But
I
what's the
think the
price?
plaster is the first one. We're
Yep.
waiting on those bids for plaster because
Oh, yeah.
that will be the most important fix right now.
Thank you. Sorry, for some reason I could not. I was looking for the right word and the towel popped
It's
in my
okay.
head.
Yeah.
So we had the plaster, which we're still waiting a price on. The 44 or 5,000 between 8,500 for the tile, and then what was the price of the concrete again?
It's
24,000.
Oh yeah, and that's that missing like that includes the missing slab right there by the pool deck where the lifeguard sits, and what other concrete does that entail?
So it includes a lot. So there's concrete over by the hot tub that
That's
has
all
lifted.
cracked and lifted.
It's cracked and lifted, so it includes that. There's actually a lot of concrete that's lifted, so it includes that, and then filling those 2 holes where the landscape beds were as well.
Okay.
Shelby, can you send me, or Brittany, can you send me the adopted 2021 budget?
Yeah, absolutely.
Shelby, are you sending that?
Yep, I'll send it.
Okay, perfect.
And do we know what the chances of the recovery of that $4,000 on the concrete, or excuse me, on the contractor cutting that line? I mean, it just seems like our lawyers should be working on that recovery.
What line? What are you talking? Which one are you talking about?
You said the contractor on Highlands Boulevard cracked that pipe.
Oh, the main line break.
Yeah, the main line break.
Jerry?
You said that was $4,000.
No, it was
$8,500.
$8,500. And
Oh, 8,500. So we should be able to recover that, I would think.
We hope to.
yes, to the extent that we can identify who did it.
So we know it was or do we know it was a contractor, or do we just think it could have been like a random incident? Like how?
No, it wasn't a random incident. It was done by a contractor. At least that, according to our landscapers who actually did the repairs.
Okay. And then Brandon, since you work for the builder, do you know, is there any way to track down who would have been in that area? Like what is the proper, like how could we use your resources to maybe help identify who that was and to go after those funds?
Yeah, you can contact our builders. Do you have any information, Brittany or Jerry, of what you presume it is?
We've requested that from the landscapers, so they should be sending that over to us, and then we'll get with Chris Carlton on it.
Yeah, he's probably the best resource on the land development side. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it was the builders. I think it was on the land side.
Okay.
Okay, so that's, I mean, it's a hope that we recover it. It's not a guarantee. We need to be proactive in saying, hey, it is our money until we actually get that recovered. I'm not a big fan of putting we're doing that, but we're going to be reimbursed in budgets just because what happens when we don't. It's just my personal piece on it. Another piece I'm seeing on there is the winterization and the opening of the bathroom and the water fountain, those pieces. So those were not, I thought we had those included in the budget last year. Did we somehow just miss those, or?
No, that it got cut down to the 2,500. We had them in there in the plumbing line item, and then they went through and said 2,500 for plumbing, 2,500 for electric, and 2,500 for general repairs.
Okay. All right. And that 29, so that would be, that 2,500 is all plumbing. So if there's ever an issue in the pool room, the pump room, anything like that, that doesn't, no?
No, this is for clubhouse specific. The pool has its own line items. Shelby just sent over the budget.
Okay.
So, but to your point, Jason, yeah, I mean, this is to winterize the plumbing system. So we can't even afford that. So if we have a toilet break, then we're right back in this meeting asking for more money to fix toilet or sink or anything else.
So Jerry, can you basically come up with a prioritization list of things that absolutely have to get done now and things we need to talk? I mean, just so that when we have this all district meeting, we can, as a finance committee, we can make a presentation or something and say, hey, these are the things that have to be done. these are the things we should do, and these are the things we can push. I mean, you gave us a laundry list of items that require attention, but no, I didn't see any real prioritization there.
Yeah, we can absolutely prioritize it.
Definitely. I just meant to do that on this call, Sam, but we can go through there easily and prioritize it and send it back to you.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful to us, so we have an idea of what we absolutely have to do and we can't fool around with, and the things that we can maybe talk about.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
and since we do have time, maybe would you want to do that now, like Brittany suggested, using this call to kind of go over those priorities and using, like I said, we're here to help them help us the most. Maybe we set what our priorities are. After we set our priorities, then we can identify what the approved budget was that Shelby just sent out, find what our deficit is, and what maybe can be finagled around to kind of cover that piece. Do you guys want to kind of use this time for that?
Jason, the only thing is I would like to see it like on an Excel spreadsheet where I have the numbers and we can, the line item totals for now, later, maybe. And I don't know that we can do that on the fly here, but if we can, I'm all for it.
Well, I can put the spreadsheet together after this call and send it to you guys. That's easy. But I do think, the number one priority is the plaster on the pool, in my opinion. Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong.
So the number one priority is the plaster, because if the plaster and tile don't get repaired, that pool doesn't open.
Right.
So it goes plaster, tile, and then concrete. I mean, the concrete, if we don't get it repaired, it's going to be a tripping hazard, and people are going to trip over it and land on the concrete, and there's going to be injuries. And that would be a conversation.
We don't know what the value of that is because we don't have the estimates yet on the plaster.
It's $24,000 to repair all the concrete.
Well, that's the
concrete. Is that to repair?
To add the concrete, the tile, and the plaster, we don't know what the bottom line is because we don't have plaster estimates.
That's correct.
So I'd suggest also the concrete work. You said 24,000 to repair everything. I don't know if there's like a priority of that 24,000 to repair.
There's definitely a priority. I mean, there are areas that need to be done right now, and there are areas that we could phase to next year. No problem. However, no matter what, it needs to be done eventually, or we'll still have the shifting issues. But you're correct. It doesn't have to be $24,000. It needs to be half. I guess if we break it up into two different, you just have to understand there will be like rental of equipment, like bobcats, and taking the fence apart twice instead of once, so that the bobcat can get in, and all of that.
Yep. And then, Brittany, do we know, is that raised concrete over by the hot tub, is that causing issues to the shell of the hot tub or anything else around that area?
I don't know that, Jason, and I'm not even sure that that's something that we could know without
until we got the concrete up.
Digging up. Yeah, digging the area.
Because I know it's right there, right on that shell side of it where the steps are, and that's...
Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess the other big piece to kind of work out, that's kind of Sam mentioned, is maybe if we can review the warrant. So I know the building was originally built by, or handed over to Oakwood, and from Oakwood to Timberline. Is that correct? Or how did the building?
It was built by Taylor Coors.
Yeah.
And then was it handed directly from Taylor Coors to Timberline, or who did it go to?
No, it was transferred to Oakwood, and then Oakwood transferred it to the district.
Okay. Is there any way to pull up those original warranties by chance from both the Timberline to Oakwood piece and then the Oakwood to Timberline side, or not Timberline, sorry, the Timber Cores to Oakwood, to see maybe there was some type of warranty in there between Timberwood and Oakwood that we don't know about? Is that I know it's a long shot, but we could find something to kind of help with that. I know it'd be better than paying $24,000.
So I have the limited warranty in front of me. Warranty agreement. Coverage page. Coverage period is for 1 year, beginning June 9th, 2017. So it was up June 9th, 2018.
Okay. And that was for the whole lot. So building,
whole
concrete.
Facility. I'm double checking that right now as I read.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if maybe since there were so many moving parts and pieces that they had different warranties for, or
The
if it's fixed
concrete was not even covered. It's not even covered in the limited warranty because due to the normal characteristics of concrete, expansion and contraction cannot be controlled and is not covered under this limited warranty.
making me sad, Brittany. Making me sad.
Sorry.
Oh, I know
I
it
just
is what
want
it
to
is.
give you the answers so you
I
have them.
Hey, you know that's all I care about is getting the correct answer. So thank you.
No problem.
One thing I did want to just remind everyone on this team, on the 2021 budget, we still had about 90,000 of unidentified income built into the budget. So I think that's one thing we need to kind of keep in the back of our heads as well. So just a reminder.
Nope, definitely didn't forget that piece. Thank you, Shelby. Makes me sad, but definitely did not forget.
Okay, so I think what you're asking, Timberline, is immediate repairs to open up the pool. So you're going to get those bids next week. You can send them out to us, as soon as you get them, and we can reconvene. We can talk about what that looks like in terms of the priority. And I think we should also have the, the priority, requests compared to the budget as we walk through that. So I think that's probably the next step there. But I think, longer term and bigger picture, I think, to Shelby's point, we wanted to come back to the table here to discuss, the unfunded other revenue line item of 90,000 and ongoing operations and ongoing budgets and so forth in context of the revenue that is currently in place right now and any opportunities, I guess, as we look at it. So I think that's kind of the bigger question there.
Yeah. Well, I guess one thing that would help.
I also think.
Go for it, Sam. Sorry.
I also think from a logistical point of view, we're up against the time crunch here in terms of the normal pool opening date, and it probably would behoove us to schedule a district meeting and get that on the calendar so that once we reconvene, make our decisions, that district meeting is already set so that we can keep things moving along instead of waiting another week or 10 days to set that district meeting, if that makes any sense.
Well, would a district meeting be needed, Shelby, if we get those priority items and say, hey, we're recommended, or the budget committee is recommending that we pull from XYZ item to fund ABC item? Or is that something that this committee can directly do?
So Jerry and I had a little bit of back and forth with Jennifer, your attorney, and I think that since these are unbudgeted items, we would need board approval. I think my question, and Jerry or Brandon, I don't know if you know the answer, is whether or not we could do an email vote rather than doing a special meeting just to do these. So if you don't know the answer, maybe that's something we can ask Jennifer to.
I think we can do that. We would have to confirm with Jennifer, but I think we could do it over email and then just have the board ratify the decision.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'll check with Jennifer to see if she's comfortable with that. Brandon, if so, do you think that's something that the District 4 board would be willing to do?
Are you so I guess you mentioned earlier it's unfunded items. So we have 5,000 in pool repairs right now. So I think you're expecting it to go above 5,000. Is that what they?
Most definitely.
Yes.
Okay, and so you're anything above 5,000 is what you're asking for to vote on. Is that right?
Well, that's kind of the agreement we came to last year at the end of the budget season. Was we'll set this budget, and then it was requested of management to, if we know we're gonna go over any of these line items, we have to bring it back to the board for approval.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't want to lose the time waiting to get the board together again and authorize this so we can sign the contracts as opposed to being ready to go. So once we know the numbers, make our recommendation, the board's ready to go and we can get things moving.
Okay.
Yeah, Sam, I agree. This is a very tight schedule because as soon as I find a contractor who's willing to fix the plaster, we're going to be on their schedule. So if they can do it the next day, and that's the only time they're going to be able to do it, we want to be able to do it the next day.
So is the first step, is it plaster? Is that right?
Yes.
Plaster is first. Yep.
Second step is the tile work
Tile.
for the toddler area.
So first step is plaster, then tile, then concrete.
Okay, so if the first step is, within $5,000, it sounds like you can probably authorize that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but we just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that the tile work alone is $5,000. So whatever the plaster number comes in at, if it's under 5,000, yeah, we can go ahead and authorize that to get going, but we have to come back to the group and then reauthorize the tile and whatever portion of the concrete gets approved. So we just wanted everybody to understand that. I mean, we don't expect the plaster to put us over budget initially, but as soon as we get the plaster done, the tile will.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the timing consideration that you were mentioning earlier.
Well,
If the plaster's ready to go and it's under $5,000, then I think you can authorize that contract to move forward.
Yeah, but I think we can't open unless both the plaster and the tile are done, correct? Because
That's correct.
The tile will be there to, like, it would cause issues to kids. So no matter what, with the tile being $5,000 by itself, they would have to have authorization from the board before both items be done to allow for the pool to open.
Right. With the concrete, we can put cones and caution tape until we have a decision on that. But the plaster and the tile has to get done.
Yep. So yeah, I think kind of everyone's piece. If we're not going to use this meeting to kind of decide those, the priority, it sounds like we have a priority, but there are more items as well on there. What I would kind of recommend is let's throw it into Excel. Let's rank by priority the cost. I know we have coming up the cost for the plaster. We don't know what it is now, but once we get those costs in, have that on there. And then also recommendations from the approved budget of what you think could be cut to cover those costs, and then what our deficit would still be with the cuts on there, and then kind of what the additions have looked like. That way we know, hey, we know we're $90,000 short based because we have unknown funding source. Now these unforeseen expenses, we're looking at $108,000, but we were able to cut X, Y, and Z, and that brought us to $95,000. So something along those lines. That way we can see, hey, we are going to cut this, but it means that we're still this much, or do not have funding for this much of the budget. Would be my recommendation. That way we have a total picture view of it instead of trying to break it into small segments.
Yeah.
I'd be appreciative for that.
Can do that.
What is? Thanks. I think that's appropriate. Yeah, let's go that way. A question on the budget. What is the COVID-19 expenses for $10,000? What was that consideration?
So, Brandon, you'll see those in kind of each of the three operations categories. You will also see a corresponding COVID-19 relief funds up top. So that was kind of a placeholder if we still were incurring, if really Jerry and Brittany's teams were still incurring costs specific to COVID-19 considerations, but all of those would have been reimbursed through state funds.
I see. Yeah. All right. That makes sense.
That does bring up one more spot where we could save some money, and this is, again, dependent on the community and what the community wants. We use a system called Appointment Plus to schedule appointments in the gym and the pool. The community is going to level clear because it's in Weld County, so technically we wouldn't have to make appointments. People really loved the Appointment Plus system and have said even under COVID or not under COVID, they would still want us to use it. But that is an added cost, and it could go toward fixing the pool. So that's another area that we could look at. It's a very small amount, but it's something.
So my only reservation about getting rid of the reservation system, and I'm one of the people that actually hates that system, but my only reservation is knowing what the full build out of the community is and knowing the cap of that pool. Once we actually are built out more, if we're not taking advantage of that, how are we going to keep the pool manageable and not over capacity?
Well, capacity is pretty huge on this pool. I mean, the capacity, I believe, is 180 people. And I don't think I've ever been here with 180 people, but I do know the community is getting larger. So
Yep.
I don't
I
know.
just want to go on record. I just want to go on record as saying I agree with Jason 1,000% about the reservation system.
Yeah, it works. It did its job well. I'm just lazy and I don't book anything. So that's my personal piece on it. But I just know that so our total build out I think was what 792 homes, Brandon, if I remember correctly. You stated we were going to be at 792. Let's say there are 3 people per home, and we're at 100. You said what 180 people, Brittany, for the pool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that if everyone sent a kid for a day, not even if even half of that sent a kid for a day to the pool, we'd be way over our max capacity for that. I know we're a ways out, but if we got rid of it now and then brought it back next year, that may be a thing. But I want to ensure that it does have plans to come back, and then what are our plans even this year to mitigate that piece of it? Because we have no one checking one without that piece. The reservation plus the lifeguards won't be checking key cards. People can bring multiple friends with them. I know we have. Hey, you can only bring X amount of people. If we don't have anyone actually enforcing that with the reservation system, it as a resident here, I've seen that pool extremely packed and extremely packed with people that both live here and do not live here.
Now the guards have a system, like they have to count how many people are in the water because they're only allowed to have 25 people in the water per guard. So they do keep a count of how many people are actually in the water at all times. So
Is that just any time?
that is anytime. That's anytime. That wasn't a COVID thing. That's anytime. They're always counting people in the water.
Okay, so yeah, I mean that would be my only reservation about it. Like I said, as long as we know we can bring it back for next year and not cut that cost for something else over and over again, I just want to throw it out there. I know I have no say on that piece, but that would be my only recommendation is keeping it to mitigate capacity. Even with being in the clear, you know our residents, they will flock to that on a nice warm day, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we're right about our scheduled time here. So Jerry and Brittany, I think we're clear on kind of next steps for you all. I think it still makes sense to follow up with Jennifer on the email vote. So I will do that and copy you, just because since the plaster and tile repair needs to happen pretty close together, I think we're going to need an approval either way. So that makes sense to everybody. I think we should see about going that route.
Okay. Yep. That's fine with us.
Sounds good.
Okay. Do we want to think about setting a next meeting while we are all on the phone together?
Well, what may help is if we kind of set up a cadence. So, would you guys be okay with setting a recurring meeting on this piece? Maybe 2 or 3 weeks at a time? Because I know we still have the 90 grand to talk about. We still have the site survey to once those get done and to talk about. It's Colorado. We're going to have unforeseen expenses come up all year long. So I think
Right.
maybe we had a standing meeting and just kind of canceled it if it wasn't needed, but it was still blocked on the calendar, maybe something to ensure
Yeah.
we're always available. But I leave that to everyone to kind of weigh in on.
I'm
Shall
fine
we
with
have-
that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that 4 weeks, if that feels appropriate at this time, puts us at May 20th.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, my
fine.
only question is, we're gonna have to meet before that to come up with an official recommendation to present to the districts if we're going to move forward with the pool stuff, right? So I don't mind the ongoing meeting thing, but I think logistically we're gonna have to meet sooner rather than later to get this pool thing straightened out.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna need to meet next week as soon as I have numbers. Or we could do that all through email. It's just up to you guys if we need a scheduled meeting or if we can have a group email and we can all respond to that.
I'm perfectly okay with a group email for the budget committee. This grouping here. That way it's kept local, and then if need be, we can expand upon and go to a phone call.
Yeah, I would say for these pool repairs, I think that should be able to be handled by email unless anyone strongly disagrees there. And then the next meeting pick up on probably some of these other items as well as the larger overall budget discussion.
Yeah,
Does
that's
that make
fine.
sense? Good? Okay.
Okay.
Could you drop
to set up a,
Brittany or
are you
Jerry?
going to set up a district meeting then to approve these changes once we get the numbers nailed down?
So Sam, I think that's where we're going to check with legal counsel to see if we could do just kind of an email vote from District 4 to approve those costs and contracts so that we can move forward. I just think scheduling a meeting and the timeline we're on isn't really gonna help at this point.
Okay. I
So
mean, as long as we can do it, I'm all for that.
yeah, well, I'll follow up with Jennifer and get an answer on that right away.
I was just going to ask if you could, Brittany, if you could just drop the proposals into a shared drive so we can take a look at them. I think we
I will do that.
do that. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, once I have them all, I'll share them out. And I can also include photos that you can see what everything looks like.
That'd be great.
In the proposals, are we requesting that they give us a start date as well, an estimated start date? Just since maybe one's maybe $1,500 more, but if they can start 2 weeks before the other, it may be worth that $1,500.
Right. I didn't actually ask them for that, but I can easily, no problem. I mean,
Just-
as they turn them around, I'll just call them and say, okay, when can you get this done? If we pick you, when can you do it?
Yeah, I
And
think
I'll
that would
get
just
those
be.
dates from them.
I'm a fan of going with the cheapest guy, but sometimes if the cheapest guy is 6 weeks booked, then we got to figure out what our next best option is. But
Yeah.
Thank you, Brittany.
No problem.
All right, is everybody available the 20th, maybe 3:30 or 4?
Yes, my schedule's open.
Yep, I can do anything
I'm good.
after 2 o'clock on Thursday the 20th.
Good.
Brandon, that works for you?
Yep, that's good.
All right, we'll do 3:30 on the 20th. I'll get that invite sent out.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
thanks everybody. We'll talk to you.
Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.